Halo, the TV series. We're back for episode 6, Solace. So be sure to like the video, subscribing's great as well, and I'd love to have your questions, comments, and thoughts on the general episode as we do every week, as that basically lets me keep doing this and checking out this season of the Halo TV series. Will we be back for season 2? Who's to say, but we'll enjoy season 1 as I keep reviewing each of the episodes. So yeah, you can check out all of my past reviews. I did episodes 1 and 2 together, and then all of them since then have been separate, all up on the channel. So this latest episode, again, they asked me to keep things relatively spoiler-free, but obviously we need to talk about some things in order to actually do a review and chat about stuff. So if you watched the last episode, I'd say there was a lot more action there. It was actually an improvement for the show. I know some people still had issues here or there. That's totally fine, but it was an improvement. And I'd say this episode actually maybe is the best one. Now, it's not action-packed in the sense of like, hey, there's crazy explosions. But this one deals with the aftermath of the last episode. So we've got the chief kind of with the weight of the failure of getting the second artifact, or, well, basically making sure that they get that artifact back to Reach. You've got, all these dead soldiers. Kai is severely injured. The other Spartans are kind of like trying to help out. And then there is this whole, kind of fallout from the situation. And the fallout from other decisions and other things that have been going on throughout the whole season. You would say, oh, it's not action-packed, but I would say it's action-packed in the sense that it is really swift delivery of moments, dialogue, and what's happening. Like, it's quickly paced. They cover a lot of territory really quickly, and it's actually just a really generally good episode. At least I thought so. I was quite pleased with it, because it was basically, you've got Halsey dealing with the fallout of her decisions overall with the Spartan program, John looking for answers and finally really taking charge, but again, kind of unchief-like, if that makes sense. Like, it felt a little, I don't know if out of character. It's like, in this character, like, this version of the Chief, it felt in character. But for, like, the regular Master Chief from the games, and obviously, this is its own canonical thing, whatever, we accept that. I accept that at this point. But, it definitely did, Chief had some interesting moments throughout this episode. And then, of course, we've got, if you watched the last episode, the lady that had a hard upbringing with humanity that was taken by the Covenant. She was dropped by the Covenant, kind of, I assume, to scout and or get information. She's basically being a spy. But they play around with the idea that maybe she isn't actually a spy and maybe is somebody that actually wants to get out of that situation with the Covenant. It's hard to say. They're definitely playing around with it. I don't think that's not really resolved by the end of the episode either. There is a very big moment, and I was kind of worried that they maybe weren't reaching towards this moment for a second season, but I think they actually will get to where they should go for season 2 based on this episode. Again, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of teased and showcased. And if you were blinded by its majesty, I think you will be excited about this particular episode. There's also, and I don't think this is spoilers to any degree, but they were prototyping the Spartan laser on a table, which is really cool. And they're like, oh, I think we get like 5 shots out of this. It was kind of funny. It was just a quick little scene, just a momentary thing, and it was on the table. And I'm like, oh, they're making the Spartan laser. So that's kind of cool. I liked Miranda was a big focus here, so was Parvati, and the Keys, old man Keys. So there was a lot of them kind of dealing with Halsey, dealing with Chief, Miranda kind of being pushed up the ranks a little bit, I guess you would say, was a big thing for her. Obviously Halsey isn't, she's not just going to let things, she's not just going to be a scapegoat. She's not going to let people get their way. She's always scheming. And then Cortana, I guess, trying to figure out what she's doing in her place. Like, it was a lot of lingering kind of, like, there was main story plots that were going on, main story things that were happening throughout the episode. But it did kind of just, like, sort of meander through them. I think the best part of this was you don't get any Quan at all. Well, not true. You get Quan, but not in a way that you think you do. And it actually was a very effective little, just Very brief, very, very brief. And it makes sense for why that is. And when you watch the episode, you'll be like, oh, okay, no, I get you. So, yeah, that was kind of neat. Because you've got a chief that's basically having issues. You know, he's not well. He definitely isn't. This artifact is driving him crazy. And then there's a lady in there. And again, I really couldn't quite tell. Is she maybe trying to connect with the chief directly? Is she, fully for the Covenant? It was interesting because she seemed to maybe almost care about the Master Chief. And I'm thinking they kind of maybe actually might be going in the direction that I was kind of joking about, or thinking maybe that, like, she lacks that kind of human empathy and whatnot, and the Chief is learning to love, and they can maybe, I don't know, get together or something like that. I don't know. There wasn't anything like that in this episode, but it was kind of like there's a little caressing going on, which was a brief little tender moment there. But yeah, they're kind of playing around with the idea of the chief being like, I don't trust this lady, and them looking for something, looking for something mysterious based on her intel. And, obviously she's got the fingernail energy sword. The thing kills me that is a thing. I don't what. She should have like a little blade or something, like an Assassin's Creed little energy sword blade would make more sense than like a fingernail blade. I don't even want to get into that. But I like this episode actually. I kind of like where they're going. It's been up, it's been down. It's not been great the season, I would say. It's not been great, but like that last episode there was some glimmering there of really great stuff. And if you're expecting full action, I mean, you're just not going to get that. That's it's a TV show. Should there have been more action than we've seen? Yes, a lot more. It was very slow burn. I am a little worried, though, that with the fact that this episode really had nothing to do with Quan, that, like, literally the next episode maybe will focus entirely on them. So that would be not super ideal, but I don't know. Because this was really solely focused on being on Reach, and everyone kind of dealing with what happened over the last episode. It's a very grim painted picture of like what happens when the Covenant come in and attack. It's not good for the UNSC. It's not good for those forces. They definitely are outmatched usually by the Covenant and whatnot. If you're expecting more Covenant appearances, there's nothing really in this episode. It's very much more of a dramatic sort of episode that helps set the stage for what's to come to the conclusion of this season. We've still got, I think it's like a few episodes left. So there's more for them to tell, and they're kind of setting up that last arc, and I hope that's really action-packed and interesting. But I did like this episode. I did think it was an improvement. I'm eager to see more now, which is different, and I think that's good. So I'm very curious to see where they go and what they do with this, because I think there's more potential now and more fun that can be had with these characters and whatnot. So again, liking the video is great, subscribing is great as well, and I'd love to chat about the episode and whatnot and get people's thoughts on it. And I will be back with next week's episode as well, doing a review of that, and throughout the rest of the season. And I mean, we are along for the ride in Halo, the TV series.